Hello all and welcome to a brand new Parry's Pickup. Thanks very much for joining us today. So this episode we're going to be doing things a little bit differently. As you've probably seen by the video title, this is a Tetris special. And if you follow our Instagram or watch some of our previous episodes of Parry's Pickups, you'll know I really like Tetris. And I'm sort of amassing a collection of Tetris games at the moment. It's an interesting thing to collect. There are a lot of them. So we're going to look at 4 different versions of Tetris today for 4 different formats. I'm going to start off with something I would think of a bit of a holy grail item in the Tetris collection, because it's one of the more expensive Tetris games that you don't see around a lot, and it's an import Tetris title. This one is Sega Tetris. So this is by far the most expensive Tetris game I've ever bought, I think. A whopping £30. Not looking to spend any more than that on a Tetris game. In fact, I was a little bit reluctant to drop the money on this, but it's a good Tetris game. Now, you'd think that every Tetris game would be good, because essentially, you know, Tetris is a good game. Well, the thing is, there's in every game there's a variation on the formula. In this game, by far the most standout aspect of this game is the multiplayer, which is unique and at a time was online. It feels fair. Some competitive Tetris multiplayer games, they just feel like a little bit cheaty. This one, it does some unique things in the fact that what can happen is, as you're if the opponent is doing particularly well, then what can happen sometimes is an extra Tetris piece can fall down onto your side and link up with the piece you were going to be getting next. You have a moment then to choose how you want to connect this secondary piece to your existing next piece, which is totally different from any other Tetris game I've played. And that can either, sometimes it can be particularly detrimental, other times you can actually combine them in such a way it doesn't affect you too much. Otherwise, I think if the player gets a Tetris specifically, then a whole line bar 1 will come down onto your playing arena, which, isn't too helpful. But other than these 2 things I've mentioned, this game doesn't go particularly crazy with offering power-ups in the multiplayer. With these 2 ones, they just seem to balance out the multiplayer games rather well. The presentation is fun and colourful, and you get these little mascot characters, for example this monkey, and there are a few other ones. You'll see another one in the video. But they're fun, it doesn't take itself too seriously. It plays a good game of Tetris. There's no fast drop in this particular version. But it's a good game of Tetris. It doesn't do annoying things. So I like it. I like it a lot. Then that's Tetris, Sega Tetris, for they're all Tetris, aren't they? For the Dreamcast. So we're going to move on to a regular PAL game now. This is the Next Tetris for the what's this? It's a PlayStation. So this plays 2 versions of Tetris. Plays classic Tetris, which plays well, and then you can also play, I think it's called the Next Tetris is what it's called, and that is a sort of cascade mode where Tetris pieces are broken up into little chunks. They can be made up of 1 or 2 or more different chunks. Now, if a part of that Tetris piece was to... Basically, these pieces can be broken up so they can fall onto the next level. So, in the Next Tetris single-player game, you're given a goal of clearing the bottom line of the area. So, to do that, you've got to think about how your pieces are going to break apart to fill those gaps. Now, it's difficult to explain, but in practice, it's a fun variation on Tetris. And the great thing about this game is If that's not to your liking, which I think any Tetris fan's going to appreciate another kind of challenge, then you can just go back to regular Tetris and it plays a fine game of regular Tetris. In fact, it doesn't stop after... Now, what is the last level on Tetris? 18? I forget now. I think I know because I play a lot of Tetris, but there's a clue. I don't always get to the very end. It goes on over the normal level limit of Tetris. So it gets fast, but it never gets... hasn't, for me, it's got to a point where it's been stupidly fast. I think actually it's the last one level 15, isn't it? It's not. I don't think it's 18. And you can move the pieces very easily. You have that split second to move them. Well, I say split second. You can kind of... Yeah, it is a sort of a window, but if you can keep within that window over and over again, you can move the piece over from one side of the area to another. So when I was playing this, at the top line, the top couple of lines, I was able to manipulate without getting, bricked out, so to speak. So yeah, it's an accessible version. The presentation is a bit lackluster, to be honest. In this game, I'll point out it's made by Blue Planet Software, who have done some very good Tetris games in recent years and have turned out some of the better modern versions of Tetris. But the presentation of this particular one, you've just got a colourful background that kind of moves around a little bit like some sort of a vortex or nebula type thing going on. The music's pretty good. It's not standout, but I think I didn't have any problems with the music in this game particularly. And it's got that Tetris pieces are rendered in 3D, so there's that PlayStation 3D quality to them, and that's quite nice. That makes this very Tetris, makes this Tetris game very PlayStation-y, shall I say? There's another great term for you, PlayStation-y. One thing I will say about this game is it's got some very interesting compatibility issues. This game plays fine on my PS2 Slim. It won't play on my PS2 Original, the fatter model. It will not play on a PS3. It will play on the PS1, both versions of the PS1 I've tried it on. This was a fun little task, trying this out on different consoles, just to try and work out why this game doesn't work on consoles with a disk drive rather than a disk mechanism where you place a disk in the top. That's the only thing I can think of. Whenever you insert this disk, as you would into a regular disk drive, it doesn't seem to work. But if you've got a system with an opening hatch, it seems to be okay. I will try this with the third PS3 model and see if it works on that, because that also had a lid as opposed to a slot. Anyway, just so you might know that if you decide you want to pick up this game to play on your regular PS3 or PS2 fat version, then you might have some issues with it. So that is the Next Tetris. And I realise I talked about that one for quite a while, so we'll move swiftly on to a game I was playing today. That actually just arrived for me today, and that is Tetris X for the PS1. Now, excuse the footage first of all, because I had to play this with a 4-second lag. And playing Tetris with a 4-second lag, you're not going to get very far at all. This is because the monitor I was using to capture the footage, the monitor will not do 60 Hz, so I actually had to rely on my PC monitor as it captured the footage with its 4-second delay to play the game. So that was difficult. This is Tetris X for the PS1. It doesn't play the greatest game of Tetris. It has some slight annoyances, but it's not as bad as Tetris S for the Saturn, which is kind of like this. I think it's the same developer, but it's just not as good. It has more little annoying moments in it. This one has a regular single player mode, classic Tetris, and a multiplayer mode which I haven't tried as yet, but I'm looking forward to having a go on soon. But as far as I can say about the single player game, it's not got any fast drop. I don't think you can turn the pieces at the side of the area, and for some reason, as the pieces come together, they all turn to the same colour, which is a pinkish colour. So that makes the game look a little bit ugly, and when you combine that with the photograph backgrounds of strange things like vegetables, and there's a classic car as well, but there's some interesting high resolution images for the backgrounds. It's the same as the Tetris S for the Saturn, actually, in that respect. It uses these really nice high quality images for the backgrounds, but they're of some peculiar things. I could have picked some better photos myself, I think. But one thing is very interesting about this game, and I'll just read this out now, is the statement on the front of the box. Remember, this is a Japanese game. You can feel a pleasant sensation when the block falls in the right place. That's fair, isn't it? You can feel a deep satisfaction when you erase mass lines perfectly. Bang on. Let's keep cool and try it. Wow. You know, they've hit the nail on the head there with that description of Tetris. And if you were in doubt about Tetris, I encourage you to keep cool and try it. Okay? So is this a must-have Tetris game? No, it's not, but it is marginally better than Tetris S for the Saturn. Is it the best on the PS1? Also, no, it's not. I would say of all the Tetris games I've played on the PS1, Tetris Plus is an oddity, by the way. That's another Tetris game you can get for PS1, which I don't think you can even play a regular game of Tetris in, to my knowledge. I could be wrong there. But out of all of them I've played, this one, the Next Tetris, would be the one I'd go for if you had to pick just one for the PlayStation 1. But this isn't play a bad game of Tetris, but this is better. Okay. So finally, it's a bit of a cheat here, because technically I only really had 3 new Tetris games to share with you today. But I wanted to do this about 4 games, as I usually do as Parry's Pickups. So I really wanted to do a Tetris special. So what I did was I decided to include this game, Tetris Worlds. Now, Tetris Worlds is a game I've actually covered, I think, on a GameCube special episode of Parry's Pickups before. So this game I have covered before, but maybe you've not seen that video. It also does have a different front cover than the other versions of Tetris Worlds, which is a very peculiar thing about this game. I think the Game Boy Advance and the PS2 versions share the same cover, whereas the GameCube and Xbox versions have slightly different covers. The GameCube version is full of different colour Tetris pieces, Tetraminos, but this is slightly not full. It's cool. I'm glad they all have slightly different boxes, but they are essentially the same games. In this game you get a story mode, which is interesting. I won't go into it, I'll leave that for you to find out yourself. There's not much of a story there, but what it does is it gives you several different challenges in several different worlds, and there's different variations on Tetris games within each world. That's cool. You know, Hotline Tetris, which is something I've not played before, Cascade Tetris. So all these different variations are within this one Tetris game, and that's really cool. Great multiplayer, up to 4 players, split screen. You could play this game online at one point, and it does also allow you to use custom soundtracks. It also includes Fusion Tetris 2, which is one I haven't played. But in Fusion Tetris, try to connect the falling blocks to the fusion block beneath the garbage. And if you don't play a lot of Tetris, you might not know what the garbage is. I think that the blocks that you can't do anything with. The more blocks connected to the fusion block, the bigger the bonuses. So never played that mode, can't really speak of it. But that is Tetris Worlds. So, to look back at all these games we featured in this episode, we've got Tetris Worlds, Tetris X, the Next Tetris, there's 2 PS1 versions, and Sega Tetris right there. So if I can just line all these up somehow, you can see all these different Tetris games. But one thing before we bring this episode to a close, I'll just say you are likely to see more Tetris games in Parry's pickups eventually. That's a given. Or a gibbon. No, that's not a gibbon, is it? But just going back to this game for a moment, there's something I forgot to mention. In the single player version of this, has a very weird thing where it's quite slow and easy to play, and then the blocks just hurtle down at an alarming rate, as in like the hardest difficulty level, until you progress to the next level where they slow back down again. And I don't know why this is, then they speed back up again. But the thing about this game is you can continue. So you don't lose the level you're on, you lose your high score, but you'll stay at the particular level you were on and you keep going. Because maybe this was an arcade game, I'm not sure, I haven't done my research on the origins of this Sega Tetris. I can tell you though it was made by WoW Entertainment, I think, who I think did the Crazy Taxi games, maybe, but it's another official Tetris product. So there you have it. A lot of information I was trying to remember there, because I wanted to give you a good idea of how different versions of Tetris can be. Thanks for watching. I'm sorry if this has bored some of you who aren't into Tetris. Do let me know in the comments what you think, if you like these ideas of specials, because I think one of the interesting things about Parry's pickups is it's usually a mix of different kinds of games for different formats, and we have done different formats. We focused on one particular type of game here, specifically Tetris. But I do hope you've enjoyed it, and I'm going to stop waffling on now about Tetris, and until next time, see you again for another Parry's Pickups. Bye for now.